All right.
Then we have our downtime.
I might mention this again later, but it seems that the J6s are starting to get more attention out there in the world with the people, not the news people.
Well, they need to.
I'm seeing a lot more being posted. I saw a protest earlier today on, what was it, Truth Social? Someone saying, we're not doing anything for these guys. Why aren't we doing anything for these guys? I'm like, are you not paying attention? And then I rather than say that, I said, yes we are, and this is what we're doing. And it may not be visible, but it's visible to the J6, and that's important. And there was a few other things I said. But I think the point is that I'm seeing a lot more posts showing up in social media as my feed goes. And that's encouraging. And there's a number of other things on that particular vein that are encouraging as well. By the way, thanks for appreciating the port beer over there at Rap Tap House. I just had 2 of them and they're really nice.
All right.
You're on the air. I have this binder of stuff that I want to share some stuff with. Like we have your binder, but we'll have our downtime talk about it.
Yep, sounds good. All right, that's good enough.
Okay. What is this? Nice. Put the day up there. The day up is 800 and something. The day of. Another day of insanity.
It's amazing how people just don't connect things. You say J6ers and they say, what is that? January. That's their J6ers to January 6th.
It's think about it though. It's 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's
That's the short memory. Well, how long did it take for America to forget 9/11? Every year.
We think about it every day, and people don't think about it anymore. That's why we cannot let the guys know that they have to know that we still think about it. Working on these posts, so you really think about everybody. When you connect the pictures, links to the pictures, that's it.
that's right. Just make sure my phone's on. Testing. Pressing hold until that's it. It's on. Okay, that should be good. Testing.
Bluetooth connected.
Testing. All right. Okay, welcome everyone on the live stream. We're here at Northern Neck Regional Jail. It is day number 883 of the January 6th saga, and it is June 9th, 2023. As usual, we'll start with a brief little prayer and then Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, please watch over everyone who's been involved with this tragedy in the United States, especially for people that are near and dear to Marcus Malley, who was sentenced today, and I'll talk about that some more. But dear God, please, again, send your power and love to the people that work inside this jail. Give them the strength to try to rise above the very basic necessities that they provide to these men, and help them to see that every one of us is one of your children and deserves to be treated fairly. Please give these guys hope as they get sentenced and moved and their lives are ripped around. So many of them right now have lost communication, and it's just a whirlwind. So it's a very sensitive time. And with your help and guidance, I know these guys will get through it. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so Cheryl, I'm going to just hand this over to you right away. I want you to talk a little bit about what you did here, and maybe I'm going to come on closer so we can look at it. How's that sound?
Sure. Well, it took me a few days to create the trifold poster for, there goes my soda, for the Tea Party Summit tomorrow, and probably for the next vigils. But I tried to include everybody. I know, well, at least the people who have been calling in, but still there was no room. So we have Marcus Manley over here, who Tom's going to talk about the sentencing today. And we also have Robert Morse here, and you can see
Right.
everybody.
That's awesome. Really great. So everybody from Stuart Rhodes,
There's the Oath
Kelly Meggs.
Keepers, and then we have, and on the right side is Christopher Quaglin and a couple of stories that was in the paper, and the center is everybody else that I could fit.
That's
Sorry I missed some people.
awesome. Really great. And this is going to be so helpful for people who are just walking by, kind of browsing and trying to, you know, have a chance to understand a little bit about these people. And that's really what it is. It's about personalizing these stories, and so you've done a great job with this. Thank you so much.
Okay. I have more to show you later.
All right.
Cheryl stumbled on a post earlier today that I thought was rather impressive. And later on, if she can bring it up, we can read it here. But it's rather timely in a more than esoteric sense. It's pretty impressive, and it was done last March, March of 22. And it may be a little bit off topic, but the signs are there. That's the best I can do until she reads it. It's kind of incredible. And I know that we've probably got a few minutes before we get our first call, because they usually start showing up around 7:30. But it's interesting, especially when you think about the smoke in the sky and how that's going to get a little bit thicker in the days to come.
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So go ahead and read it.
Well, those who have religious or spiritual backgrounds, those who follow Julie Green from Ministries, she's really good at prophesizing stuff. But this was prophesized back in, or I'm just going to read it. Julie Green prophesied this in March. We are watching it happen now. Your enemies' plans are falling apart. The date of the word received was March 13, 2022. So the word says, watch the skies, United States, along the East Coast. Smoke will fill the skies across some states. The smoke will signal the destruction of D.C. and your enemies' ultimate fall. My children, know that this time you are living in is, with all the chaos and confusion, will not stand. I have had enough, and my glory is being poured out to deliver you. So do not give up now, as you are right at the end of the torment and torture. I am is here for you, and I always have the final say. And I say this is finished, saith the Lord of hosts.
So that to me is more than amazing. That's a year ago. Watch the skies, smoke across the eastern United States in the skies. Oh, and by the way, that coincides with Trump being indicted. There's it's just, you can't make this stuff up. You just can't. And a year ago, somebody was saying that this stuff was going to happen. And it did. Right there in the skies. So I'm jaw dropped. That's the best I can do. Is I'm jaw.
We're going to do the reading of the people that are.
Oh yes.
Do the reading of how many.
We need to hand this over to Tom.
Yeah, we can do that now.
Because I have other things to share. Unless you want me to share now and do that later.
So Tom normally does a reading of all of the names that have come through Northern Neck Regional Jail, which is, we'll have more to say about Northern Neck Regional Jail shortly. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to him.
All right, Maurice, thank you.
What's going on over there.
So there's some sirens here. We might just wait a minute till those clear.
Here, with a car, like blinking lights and the cars all open.
That's one of the employees right there of the jail.
Why does she have both of the doors open? Unless they're coming, the ambulances are coming here.
This is more of a parade or something.
Well, they have movie night in Boston. They have the street closed off in front of the tap house. Of course, they're doing movie night.
It's a school bus coming back. Must be a sports win.
Oh yeah. A school bus full of kids.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to find out what it was. That's quite a reception for them, you know. That's pretty cool that they do that.
It is. That's Middle America. I love Norman Rockwell.
That's for sure. All right, so local sports team wins, I guess. Pretty neat. Yeah, so this is the list of names, and I've organized it in a couple of different ways. One of them that I read at the jail board meeting just the other day, and I've sorted this by maximum sentence to least. And I did not get through all the names, but I'll go ahead and start. Albuquerque Head, 90 months. Patrick McCoy, 90 months. Kyle Young, 86 months. Howard Adams, 8 months. Hosea Kenyon, 72 months. Robert Morse, 66 months. Mark Ponder, 63 months. Ronald Sandland, 63 months. Mark Mazza, 60 months. Jeffrey Brown, 54 months. Jeffrey Sills, 52 months. Lucas Denny, 52 months. Justin David Jersey, 51 months. Kenneth Harrelson, 48 months. Howard Richardson, 46 months. Mahyla Pryor, 45 days. I think she was here for 2 days. Nicholas Lagaran, 44 months. William Rogan Reed, 37 months. Mitchell Todd Gardner, 36 months. Nicholas Brockhoff, 36 months. And I paused on his name because I attended his sentence 2 weeks before, where Judge Kotar Katelli, the two Ks, K hyphenated name, was explaining her sentencing guidelines, and yep, there he is. Nicholas was 19 at the time of January 6th, so that actually worked against him because he's less than 25 years old, and they tend to assess a higher level of potential recidivism for people like that at that age. So that actually worked against him. But some of the things that worked for him were he expressed remorse. He apologized to the police and to the families and the judge for being in the courtroom, and a couple other things. Oh, he was I think he was a trustee possibly, but the final thing that really struck was the judge said, and you had a clean record while you were incarcerated, and you were at Northern Neck, where that's not easy to do. So that ended my 3 minutes of public comment. Yeah, it did work out.
And better than that.
Right. So let's keep going. Matthew Miller, 33 months. David Judd, 32 months. Ricky Wilden, 24 months. Troy Sargent, 14 months. Cash Kelly, 120 days. Ronnie Presley, 12 months. And I'm going to add to that, jumping down, Marcus Malley, just today, 72 months. So the remainder that I have not confirmed their sentencing dates yet. Yes. 72. So while we're on that, the prosecutor, the government wanted 15 years. And it was very interesting because I'll get my notes out later and talk more about that because I don't want to mess it up. But they were doing comparisons versus one another and what kind of sentences were being handed down to try to level set and gauge one against the other.
So that's six years, so you do the math.
That's right. Adam Jackson, Andrew Taki, Barry Ramey. I know his sentencing's coming up, I think, in another couple of weeks, maybe a week. Brandon Fellows, Brian Jackson, Chris Quaglin, Daniel Rodriguez, Daryl Neely, Dominic Pizzola, Enrique Tario, Ethan Nordine, Israel Easterday, James Grant, Jonathan Manafo, Marcus Malley we talked about, Mason Corson, his sentencing I think is next Friday, Ryan Samsel, Samuel Lazar, Tim Boehner, William Robert Norwood, Zachary Alam, and Zach Reel. Now, also just put it out there to anybody, it's really not that bad on a Friday to drive up to D.C. to get there for a 10 o'clock sentencing hearing and get home by 3 o'clock. It's really not that bad. So anybody who wants to...
I wonder how that changed, because I remember back in the day before I retired, oh my God, no.
I noticed the traffic wasn't as heavy as it had been in the during the week. And then even when I got into the courtroom, I asked a couple of security guards, busy day, he says, looked at me like I was crazy. No, it's a Friday. Things slow down on Fridays. So it definitely was a different... Yeah, maybe so. That would be good.
I would be interested in going. Of course, things might change in the next week or two. With, my arm just found out I have a torn rotator cuff, complete tear. So that might change as my orthopedic surgeon, whose name is I forgot his first name, but yeah, Dr. McCoy, who's my bones doctor.
Well, we wish you well with that, Cheryl, for sure. All right, I don't have anything else to say for a second. Let me get my notes together, and I'll talk more about today's sentence.
So, I'll just kind of carry it for a little bit. I know today on social media, actually the last several days, that there have been more and more comments about the January 6th prisoners. And it's unfortunate that it seems that there's a lot of people out there that aren't quite up to speed on the January 6th political prisoner issue. There was a couple of posts that said that we're not doing anything about it. And the reality is that we are doing something about it. And it may not be visible to everybody everywhere. And make no mistake, these January 6th prisoners of war are being held in multiple states across the country, and we are doing things about it. We have here locally, we've been successful at getting the movement of all of the January 6th prisoners out of this particular location. We don't know if they're going to ever send any more here, but through our efforts here, there's no more being detained here. And as Tom pointed out earlier, when a judge exercises any degree of leniency because a prisoner was held here, that speaks volumes as to what's going on here. So to the people out there that may be just now finding out about the saga that is January 6th prisoners, welcome. We appreciate you joining the show. Ask questions, please. We will help you along the way to the greatest degree that we can. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Tom.
How about you want us to show that up and talk about what you did there?
Cheryl.
Might go up closer so that they can,
Sometimes you just have to show them.
or I'll hold it for you.
So I created a flyer that I'm going to bring to our next Patriot meeting, and also to bring for the Tea Party Summit tomorrow to see if anybody wants to attend our vigils on Fridays. And I think it works better when you see the pictures of the people and say you're invited, even though we mentioned that several times. But if they see it, have it in their hands, they may come.
That's perfect. It's wonderful, especially at those events, to have a handout, something that people can take back. A lot of people take photos and things, but I don't know. It seems to me, especially when there's going to be, I think, 20 different tables. I think I heard that of not vendors, but people displaying, their different organizations and so on. You have Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance will be there. American Majority will be there. The John Birch Society will be there. We'll be there representing the Patriots and the Northern Neck Sentinel, and I'm sure there'll be some more, but it's kind of like that saying of drinking from a fire hose, and you go home and you go, what was that thing I really liked? Well, that's tangible. You can put it in your pocket and take it with you, and that's a great, great, great advertising piece. Thank you, Cheryl. Here.
So this has been a long, hard road because, as everybody knows, there's multiple facets to this war that we've been involved in. January 6th is not the only piece. November 3rd was the kickoff. I don't know what done in 30 means, but 30 months probably. And after the prophetic word that Cheryl just read, it seems kind of profound. There's all the smoke in the air over here on the East Coast. And somebody called it over a year ago. So here we are, and our first caller is coming in.
Hello, this is a prepaid debit call from
Barry Ramey.
an inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Hey Tom, how you doing?
Barry, doing great. How are you doing?
All right, I'm hanging in there.
Good, good. I'm glad you were able to call. So, you're where are you now? Are you settled in, or are you still in the middle of transitioning?
No, I'm a full woman now, completely transitioned. In DC, I'm in the J6 pod, as it was referred to. I'm out of intake. They had me in intake for about 7 days. That kind of sucked, but no, it's not entirely bad here. A lot of good guys, and here I am in D.C.
Well, yeah, so I'm glad you're not transitioning, although I hear that a lot of people get that paid for in prison, so, yeah. Well,
yeah, when in Rome, I guess. Not much else to do.
Wow. So I was up there today for Marcus's sentence, and I don't know if you'd heard about that back through the pod yet or not, but he received 72 months. The government wanted 15 years, so I guess that was a win.
Yeah, he didn't seem too upset. I guess none of it's good news at the end of the day. Marcus is actually a really good guy. I really come to like him. We were in Lewisburg together, and now we're here together. Very nice dude. Got a lot of respect for him. Yeah, he's hanging in there. He's making the best of it, So
Good.
We definitely prayed for him a lot last night.
Good. Yeah, and it seemed like his attorney was fairly sharp too. So that's nice to see. Nice to see that.
Good. That's good to hear. Yeah, a lot of us, as you probably know and are well aware, especially these DC public defenders, they're not doing much for us, to say the least.
Right. Yeah. Well, so we've got a big event tomorrow that we're going to, the Virginia Tea Party Summit. It's a biannual event, and we've got a whole slew of January 6th information that we're going to be talking about and handing out. One of our members, Cheryl, here just did this really nice stand-up cardboard thing with a bunch of you guys' photos and a little bit of background on you. So it's really cool because it personalizes it so much. We've had the honor of talking to you for all these Friday evenings, but relaying that to other people with something that they connect to, I think is going to be just very, very powerful. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, yeah, the Tea Party people, they know what it's like to be oppressed and suppressed. What happened to them with the IRS when they came about.
Absolutely.
That was pretty terrible.
Yeah, indeed. And that's what really got them, especially going on that. And the evidence that comes out of all that, that still goes on, I believe there's still a lot of that suppression.
Lois Lerner's name was in the mail today.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. It is, it's crazy what we're coming to, we just seen, Mr. Trump indicted on these Mar-a-Lago classified documents, bullshit to say the least. And now you got Joe Biden himself with classified documents since he was a senator. I don't know why we're not talking about that, but the two-tier justice system is ever present.
Well, and it's a two-tiered media. I mean, they go hand in hand, don't they? The one couldn't do what it's doing without the other, I believe.
Yeah, you're 100% right. The way I see it now is the media is the fourth branch of the government currently. It is, it works for the administration, and what used to be free and clear and freedom of press is no longer that. It's the Marxist tool, an extension of Marxism, in my personal opinion.
Yep, that's exactly right. And we just had a very interesting candidate for Senate from Virginia for the U.S. Senate. He's trying to take Tim Kaine's seat, and he's a constitutional attorney. The guy is amazing, and he came and spoke to us for about a half hour, 45 minutes at our monthly meeting, and he absolutely echoed what you just said about it's a Marxist takeover. Everything shows that all this tearing down of society, tearing down of our norms and our standard way of belief and looking at things is all designed to get people confused and pitted against one another. So we got to stop that. And I always think of what you, Barry, said every time I kind of think about the people on the other side as almost a lost cause, but we can't, because we've got to, and you reminded me of this, we've got to encourage them to wake up and come over to the other side, because I think they'll see it. I think they are seeing it.
100%, and I think that there is some good liberals out there. If a real liberal wants to really square up what it means to be liberal, these were the people that used to, even if they didn't agree with what you said, would defend to their death your right to say it. I mean, you look at the ACLU, as much as I hate saying that acronym now, these are ones who are mostly Jewish attorneys that in the 70s and 80s actually defended the right of the KKK and Nazis to have rallies. Now, I do not align with the KKK. I do not support Nazis. I'm anti-socialist, therefore, by my very nature, I'm anti-Nazi. But to my point is that the ACLU defended their right because the freedom of speech, when it was treaded on by one group of people, you can guarantee you would line up every other group after that. Now, do we have the same ACLU today? Absolutely not. If you don't think that men should be competing in women's sports, well, then you should be put in prison as far as the ACLU is concerned. So, that again, that's the Marxist mind frame, and it's terrible.
It's another institution lost.
Yeah.
Your point, my name's Maurice, by the way. To your point, the definition of liberalism is not what they refer to as liberalism today. The liberalism of back in the day was exactly as you described. And today it's turned into a totalitarian mindset that's more tyrannical than it is liberal. Liberalism
Absolutely. You're 100% right.
Liberalism is, there's a lot of people that come from the liberalism ilk that are currently fighting on the right side because everything else has been abandoned.
Yes, absolutely. You look at Horowitz, a great constitutional lawyer. He's a hardcore liberal, and he doesn't like Trump, but yet he's saying what's happening to Trump is absolutely terrible, unconstitutional,
Exactly.
and has even defended him pro bono.
Yes.
Yep, for sure. Barry, I don't know how your minutes are. I got another call coming. We're happy to stay on with you, or it's whatever you want to do.
I mean, whatever you guys want to do. I had Monifo and Jake Lane that were going to call in as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
But yeah, I mean, if you, I don't know if how many. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with George Orwell's 1984. It was a great novel. It was a phenomenal book.
Right.
And if you remember what he said, the thought police would try to get people to say 2 + 2 = 5, because if they could get you to say that 2 + 2 = 5 and believe it, then they can pretty much manipulate you into doing whatever they wanted. And when I first read that book, it's like, okay, I get the concept, but is that a reality? It is 100% a reality, and we're living it right now with a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, and there's no such thing as gender. And more you're seeing these people pump out of these that any kind of free speech is dad's free speech if it doesn't align with the party, and so on and so forth. And it's happened
for quite a few years. I don't know if you're familiar with the television show from the 80s, Star Trek Next Generation, but in there there's an episode where Cardassians capture Captain Picard and try to basically melt his brain, and in it they're trying to convince him to admit that there are 5 lights when there are only 4. It's an exercise in gaslighting, and there are 4 lights is the answer, and anybody that's familiar with it would recognize what you're talking about. But that's exactly what they were talking about. It's a model, it's Star Trekian model of exactly what was happening in 1984.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much as it's a great novel and alleged nonfiction, we're watching it play out in our reality right now, and it's just it's insane. But I will say this, that I believe that there is a great awakening of conservative mind frames and even proper liberals that are seeing what's going on, and I hope it's not too late. But I do feel in my heart of hearts that things are starting to turn in the American people's favor. And the reason I say that is because Bud Light has officially lost $16 billion of revenue, and they have a surmountable amounts of Bud Light that they can't even give away because the people said, no, you know what, I'm not okay with that. And, I can never forgive Bud Light no matter if they make amends or not, because now I know what a Dylan Mulvaney is, and I could have lived my whole life without knowing what that thing was, but now I do, and it's too late. But, thank you, Bud Light. But, the people woke up and they spoke, and now Disney's reporting millions of subscribers no longer using their Disney Plus service for the antics they pulled in my home state of Florida. And now you've got, the Target tuck swimsuits. The people are standing up and saying, no, our kids' minds are more important than you profiting off of tuck swimsuits for men genitalia to pretend that they're women while they're in the frickin' swimming pool. It's great to see this, and I do think that there's things coming into fruition where the sleeping conservative, they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be labeled a racist or a bigot, and they stayed asleep while this wokeism rose around us and rised, and hopefully it's not too late to put the dragon to bed, but I do think the conservative sword, with the help of the real liberal hand, will take its head off, and I think it's starting to happen, and hopefully we can promote more of this go woke, go broke backlash, but, we need to boycott, we need to stand up, we need, I just had my mother and sister get off of AT&T and switch to Pure Talk. We've been on AT&T for many, 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 many years, and why would we continue to give our money to a company that donates hundreds of millions of dollars to far left progressive agendas is beyond me. But they stopped finally. They switched to Pure Talk, and I encourage everyone to do things like that. Take your money away from these beasts, and that's the way we win this.
The beast.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've seen the same thing with the moms now. And Kohl's is the other one, and the thing we're seeing here locally, and this is the thing where we really have the ability to impact change, is the people that are standing up and pushing back at the school boards that are trying to take over. Maurice, who you just spoke to, has been instrumental in the local county here in really exposing it's a power takeover, a power grab. They're trying to push. Since the county wants to push back on their budget requests, they want to take over the county. So we can't let that happen, and we're not going to.
Nope.
Well, good job for you, Maurice. We need, more people like you, because Virginia, I think, woke the nation up with Glenn Youngkin winning, and based upon what happened in Loudoun County with that transgender sexually assaulting that female student, the school board trying to cover it up. I think a lot of moms, which is one demographic of people you do not want to F with, and I really think that Virginia really paved the way for the rest of America to realize what's happening in our schools is it's atrocious. I went to Walmart. There was a group of my buddies down in South Florida where we went to Walmart and carded out, and we got rid of a bunch of propaganda. There was
You have 1 minute remaining.
I'll make it quick. There was a book that came out, and it said on the book ages 1 through 6, and it was called The Gay Fees for Children. And we made some of those books go bye-bye and encouraged other people to do the same. And maybe there was some laws that were bent in that, but our children's minds are worth standing up for. So good for you, Marie. I'm going to go ahead and hang up. You guys, thank you for what you're doing. I'm going to have John Montefiore call in and encourage a couple other guys to call in. John's ready to call in right now.
Thanks so much, Barry. God bless you.
All right, brother. Cheers, guys.
Good evening.
Bye.
Good evening.
Thank you for using Global Telling.
Got some Star Trek in there too, huh?
Well, the funny thing is,
And the reason that's relevant,
More likes.
the reason that television shows in general are relevant is because they've been presenting an awful lot of this stuff, and I could go on for hours on this topic, but if somebody in our age group was to go back and start watching reruns of the shows that you may have watched when you were young as a kid, I'll pick on MASH. There's an awful lot of things that are presented in those television shows that we're living through right now. We're absolutely living through it right now. And at the time, we didn't see it. We didn't see it. But when you look at things in the rearview mirror, suddenly it makes more sense, and it all comes together, and it makes things like MASH and others. Weeds. That's another show from the early 2000s. In that one, season 2, episode 1, at minute marker 17, we get into a conversation about adrenochrome. How did that happen? Why is that in there? So they've been telling us about this stuff for a very long time, and we all just watch the show going, yeah, okay, it's all good. But it wasn't really good. They were telling us something. and we needed to pay more attention to what they've been telling us.
Also, everybody should watch Field of Dreams. We've watched it several times.
Field of Dreams?
Yes. The
Yes.
baseball.
Oh yes.
Only certain people can see what's going on. So once you are awake, you can see what's going on. So it's so obvious when you watch it a second time or a third time. Watch it again.
I'm going to take you up on that. I wanted to make sure I get this in before others call. The next few sentencings I have on my list is on the 16th, which will be next Friday. Adams, I'm not sure if that's which Adams. There's 3 Adams that I know of. So Howard was already sentenced. So this must be Jared or Daniel. I'm not sure which. They don't give you the first names when they do this. That same day, Friday the 16th at 2 o'clock, is Mason Corson. Yep, Mason's been a real great caller and got a tremendously supportive mother, like a lot of these guys do. And then Daniel Rodriguez is on the 21st, which must be, I don't know. Yeah. So we definitely want to try to support those guys. Yep. Mason Corson, right.
Everybody else.
So we've got our first troll on the thing.
Really? Yep. Is it happening right now?
He's texting.
Fuck you, Joe. Whatever.
Trolls. Well, I'm gonna take a break and I'll be right back.
Hello. This is a prepaid debit call from
Andrew Bucky.
an inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept this call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Andrew, how are you? Doing well.
Good. I was just saying hello real quick. Somebody else was wanting to get on with you. I was last couple of days, so I'm still settling in. So I'm going to pass the phone off here to somebody else so he can get his call in. I had your number on my list, so just doing him a favor here. I will, if I can, I will try and call you back again tonight for my own little short call. If not, I will definitely give you a shout next week, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Andrew.
All right, Tom, thank you. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for everybody else that's still out there.
All right.
Hey, Tom, how's it going, sir?
Doing good. Is that Daniel?
No, this is Jonathan Monifo.
Jonathan, hey, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing well. I'm so glad to have an opportunity to talk to you still, especially considering everything you still got going on. And yeah, thank you again for everything you guys have been doing. I didn't even get a chance to thank you for during your gifts during Christmas, and so anyone and everyone that's applicable to, I send my thanks.
On and I always do. You guys are always so gracious and thank us for what we're doing, which is not a whole lot. We're out here Friday evenings, and we're looking forward to hearing from you guys. Looking forward to understand what's going on in your lives and how we can support you. So it's not a big effort for us to do this, and we're glad to do it.
It's awesome. It certainly set a tone among the staff at the jail. You can tell they're a little bit embittered when they drive by and come to work, and not all of them, but Northern Neck Regional Jail. It's one of the worst places I've ever been, for sure.
Well,
and
that's a common theme. We hear that over and over again, and when you hear it once, you think, okay, somebody had a bad experience. You hear it twice, you hear it 3 times or 6 times, you realize you guys would know because you've been in lots of different places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's jail, so there's a very low level of expectation of happiness one can achieve unless you're in the Lord. But yeah, it's just that's unlike any other place I've been to. They have minors, in my opinion, they're not even 21, you know, working as staff and escalating issues with people with mental health, and I mean, you've heard it all. I'm certain. So to know that you're still out there, still fighting for that, and it could be anyone that ends up there. You know, I mean, the stupidest thing can, you know, sometimes get us in some hot water, and you know, so just keeping them on blast and making sure things get turned around for the people that are in there due to regulations, and you know, it's great. It's really great, and so thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I tell you what, they hoped that when the last of you, Jeffrey Brown, left, that we would leave too, and we didn't. And
it's awesome. I'm sorry. I heard it tonight, Tom, for the first time today. You guys were still there. It was so great.
Well, let me tell you this. This is some big news too. You know, our local newspaper, John Haynes, with the Sentinel, he has an explosive issue out. The main article, front page, top center, is the 2 faces of Captain English. So it's explosive, and he goes into great detail on how that all works and you know the approach those guys take. But spread that word around to people because I think they'll really be happy to hear that. But he calls him out big time.
How do we get copies?
Yeah, one of my last days there, I was assaulted pretty badly. I got my butt kicked for sure. So when he first got involved, you know, he just sounded like a mouthpiece. He sounded just like someone that just uses a word salad to make it seem like, you know, oh, we're doing the best for you. Don't worry, we'll get you. You know, it's just nonsense. You couldn't level with a person like that because they're just so obviously full of it. You know, so that was my experience with English. Sure.
Yeah, that's written about in the article about how he plays good cop sometimes, and you know, but wow. So I'm sorry to hear about that. What happened to you when you were just before you left here, but we have to shine a light on this stuff because the next time they start locking people up that don't belong here, they're going to do it again, and they're doing it to people that, you know, maybe did need to be in jail, but they don't need to be treated the way they've been treated. Not at all.
Right. It's deplorable, for lack of a better word. It's that. Again, what you have there is just you know, a bunch of minors in a career that they don't realize the danger they put themselves in by smart-marking inmates or writing people up and making fun of them and just acting like a bully, you know. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls for there. So again, that's great. That's awesome on the part of what was the gentleman's name that works for the newspaper?
John Haynes. He's the editor. He started.
That's right.
Yeah, Northern Neck Sentinel, and he started that in 2018 just because he didn't like the way things were going. And he's ferocious. He's tenacious. Nobody scares him. He doesn't back down from anything. When he gets onto something, he's like a hound dog on it.
Yep. Well, that's great, and that's exactly what's needed. So, again, when I heard you guys were still out there, and I hadn't spoken. I'm sure you know who Heather Young is.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah. What a great person. She's been helpful since the very first time. You know, we had a chance to speak over messaging, and she's taken a big interest in January Sixers, and she's such a blessing too. So I know that they were explaining that sometimes she comes down there still with you guys. Is that the case?
Yeah, it is. In fact, she's listening right now, and I. So
awesome.
Yeah, she'll probably text or something here in a minute, but she'll be here.
Okay,
she'll be here next Friday. So if you get a chance to call back in next Friday, that would be great.
You know what, I will. And one of the things I noticed is that, you know, it's difficult because, you know, a lot of times, you know, we at distracted. But one of the things that I'm doing to keep myself proactive is just having some sort of a schedule or a ritual or whatever, and adding calls to the Northern Neck Patriot group on Fridays is going to be definitely a top priority for sure. Now that I know you guys are still going, it's so awesome.
No man left behind.
Yeah, I don't know how well you can hear that, but that was one of our group here. We got a steadfast core group of about 4, 5, 6, depends on what it is, that are always here.
Right.
Yeah, we love it. We love talking to you guys, and hope that it helps you.
It does. It really does. The letters, I got to tell you, I wish I had a bunch of different mailing lists or whatnot. So there are times I was so inundated that I didn't know how to respond. And then people were explaining, online that it would be possible to just be able to message for everyone. But my attorneys turned around and said, you cannot use social media. So I'm thinking, besides letter by letter, it would it's quite a bit. But yeah, it's that emotional support. It's that positivity in each and every letter. The love that I feel just coming right off the pages as I read the words is just amazing. I wish I had a stronger support. You guys have really filled the gap, and everyone that's been a help to J6ers and myself included. It's just made the difference, Tom. It really has.
That's great to hear, and I will definitely pass those words back to our group, because I think writing the letter is not that hard. You just have to get over the idea that, hey, I'm sending a letter to an institution, and I think once people get used to that idea, it's very simple and easy to do, and I think it has a big impact, which you obviously just confirmed.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. So now we've got, just to double back, the article that just came out, is that something that we can get somehow, maybe through Barry or Bees or something that you might be able to send out? Or
whoever's got an active core links, I'm trying to think. When you guys move, that stuff goes down, so I'm trying to think who I still have contact with. I don't think I have any contact with you guys there, but we'll figure that out. We'll parse it. I've done that before. I've sent other guys pieces of it. Obviously, we just have to get the copy and break it up into the word limit of each of those emails, but it's one way to get it to you.
You can go online to
I see. Well, if I'm sure it's expensive. Okay, I didn't consider that.
It's not expensive. I just need to have the method to do it. But someone just asked, you guys are not able to go online to various websites and just look?
Not at all.
Yeah,
no. The tablets and everything, they're restricted in the programming and software that's on there.
Okay.
So there's no internet.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And it would have been great, but I think it's just like a long-standing safety issue for people incarcerated. That goes for anybody. So it's not like they're just picking on us.
Right.
Sometimes there's in there or something, but it's frowned upon. You get in trouble. So.
Okay. Well.
But yeah.
Even if we have to photocopy and send it through the regular mail, we'll find ways to get it to you guys, because it's
Can they
big.
get 5 pounds worth of paper if we just printed it all out?
How much can we send to
So
them?
someone's asking, how much can we send to you in the mail?
So here at this trail, yeah, it's wide open. People are getting, their mail obviously gets checked, but they're not photocopying the mail. They're not, they're like the restricted places that do. This place is very, much more relaxed on the mail rules, so you can send whatever you'd like. But anything like books, books and things of that nature, they have to be purchased through Amazon or whatever. But as far as just like copies of things being sent, yeah, they just go through it and give it to us. It's great.
Well, since it's a free newspaper, I guess we can't get it through Amazon, but we'll figure it out.
All right.
Can we send a newspaper?
That sounds good. I did just want to say one thing, and I don't know if many people remember this, but I drove around the country in 2020 attending Trump rallies, and I lived on the road, and it was a great time. But one of the things that I like to tell people and remind them is that I met a lot of people. The car that I was driving was rated crazy for Trump, and I was getting approached by people, and it's the people who came up to me with their families and their children, and it was these young kids are being taught exactly the way that you and I were raised very, very likely to love our country, and they're speaking with a place of understanding and conviction that just gives me hope. And that's the word I want to leave with you guys tonight, is that the youth that you don't hear about, the kids that are coming up from flyover country, as they say, are as patriotic and sorry, I get tongue-tied, is patriotic and is loves our country as much as we do, and that's a really heartening thing to know, because I don't think the idiots have the upper hand with all the kids and all the families and the folks, the veterans, everyone I met. There's just no way we're gonna let this turn into a socialist hellhole.
That's
and the future on it.
That's a great message, and it's we need to reinforce each other with that, because these loonies are a very small percentage of the population. Whatever you're talking about, transgender, this, that, the other thing, and they just have the voice of the mainstream media, so they're blowing it way out of proportion. There's so few people in this country that really.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Yeah.
Oh, they give me my warning. Can you hear that when that comes on there like that and says that?
Yeah, sure can. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, Tom, it's great to talk to you. I know I got someone next in line here, so just take a moment to get his attention. And thank you for everything, though, guys. I mean, really, it made the biggest difference for me, especially emotionally. And when I was stressing, I was thinking of you guys and the others that have written me, and it's been a blessing for sure. So thank you, guys.
You're welcome, and thank you for calling, and we have you in our prayers.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to get Mr. Jacob Lang, and he'll be the next one to call in.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, bye now. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for using Global Telling.
You should.
He lost a lot of really good thoughts.
I don't know.
Josh,
I
something.
Oh, it was Jonathan. Jonathan.
He's not on
He's got a similar voice to Dan Rodriguez. That's what I'm saying.
So,
Is this his first time calling, or he called?
First time I've spoken to him.
So this guy had a lot of good thoughts.
He did have a lot of good thoughts, as most of them do. I mean, they're really some sharp
They're
people.
Smart, educated, well-tempered, well-mannered, articulate. These guys don't belong where they are.
Right. Not at all. So I just wanted to get something out there. When I was in D.C. again today, I met with a couple of ladies that are just unbelievably tenacious is another word, I guess, that comes to mind, but they go to all of the trials and all the sentencing. I mean, for everything, every single day they're up there for that. They're supporting these people. They're there with the family members. They know, the individuals wave out to them because they know them by face. They've been in and they visited. And Tammy Perriman is the one that really started the vigils here at the Northern Neck. And it was so long ago that it had blurred in my mind a little bit. But what had happened was, I think they had gotten copies of the Sentinel, maybe not, but they knew that there were people here in the Northern Neck jail because they were covering it from the DC vigil since they started that August 1. So it was in October, I believe, when Tammy had gotten my information through the person that set up our website, and just called me up and said they wanted to come out and could we do it, and that's what we did. And I had a different banner at the time that said January 6 detainees are America's political prisoners. And so she came with several other people. Stormtrooper was there, Steve was there. Both of these guys do podcasts. So we had coverage there. We did that for a few weeks, and then others came and kind of took it over, and kind of spread it around a little bit. But I think we've had a vigil here every night, every Friday night since October. No, not since October last year. Yeah. Yeah. So, but we can thank Tammy for that. I don't know if she's watching. They're up there at the DC Vigil right now, but I think she was the impetus for this.
Truly, a shout out needs to go to her.
Yeah.
So, and I'll confess, I was telling you the other day how, I guess it was last October, maybe early November, Cheryl and I were watching the stream, and I said, I can't let him sit there and do that alone. I can't sit on my couch and watch it. I have to actually be there and participate. This is, it's worth it. We,
not me.
You're right. We, not me. And I think there's a core value that's in here somehow, because it's anchoring. This is, yes, there's child trafficking and there's a bunch of other things, but this is kind of the pointy tip of the spear, because when you talk about freedom, prisonhood is one of the things that people think about. And these guys, when you talk to them and you hear their values and where their heart lives, they're not criminals. They're patriots. That's why they were there that day. And now they're being punished by a cabal of evildoers. It's nothing but pure corruption.
Talk about what's coming out on July 4th. Sounds of Freedom.
Oh, there's a new movie coming out, which some of us have been waiting for a couple of years. It's finally coming out in theaters on July 4th. It was created by Angel Studios. Those are the people that brought you the series The Chosen. And it's The Sound of Freedom with Jim Caviezel, and he plays the part of Tim Ballard, who started the Underground Railroad, Operation Underground Railroad, OUR. And it doesn't really talk about it, it shows it in agonizing detail, what's going on. And if you're paying attention to everything that's going on, it even captures a period of time when Hillary Clinton and her team were down in Haiti, and they were there busting people for child trafficking, while Hillary Clinton was trying to close communications between Haiti and the U.S. That's a little bit more detail than some people might know about, but that's actually going on, and I got that from Tim Ballard himself. So
Look up OUR, Operation Underground Railroad.
Always remember the children, because that's actually what this is all about. There's a lot of it going on, and people need to pay attention. And I don't want to divert from the J6 prisoners in saying so, because, like I said, they're an anchor. They're the pointy tip of the spear. And without them, there is so much that we wouldn't know. And in fact, if you think about how much we know about what's going on with the January 6 prisoners, they were pretrial detainees. Their constitutional rights were being violated. And that's not cool. But the reality is that without them, we wouldn't know that it was going on, and it's happening to all pretrial detainees. And I've said this before, but that's a constitutional violation on multiple levels. But in particular, if you look at the second paragraph of the Sixth Amendment, that's where it is. No punishment until you've actually been convicted. And with that, I'll give you back to Tom.
Hello?
Hi, it's Jake Lang on the line.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, Jake, how are you?
Good, brother. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
You too.
Are we there yet?
If that connection.
Hi.
Yep. I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. How's the festivities out there tonight?
Well, it's a good evening to be out here. The weather's perfect. There's a small group, but we're getting some calls and we're having some conversation, and it's going well. So, yep.
Good. That's a big blessing. You guys have done. Your efforts have been very fruitful down there in prison reform, and exposing all of the heinous treatment that we've suffered under the prisoners, the pretrial detainees, the Jan 6ers at Northern Neck, and all over the BOP. I should know how the Bureau of Prison and the Department of Corrections treats their human beings who are moved around the system. I've been to 13 different prisons and jails so far.
You were never here, though, correct?
I was there twice.
You were here twice.
For a week each time.
Wow.
I was there for a week each time, so I didn't get the full experience, but a week is enough time to understand where you're at. Twice.
Yeah.
I did.
Right. Wow. Well, tell us more about your story, and whatever you'd like. I mean, the floor is yours, or just love to hear more.
Yeah, first I want to just thank everybody that's out there. Your persistence, your diligence, and your constant support and prayers are really the difference maker for the January 6ers, knowing that we're not forgotten, that we have people out there who show up in person outside these different jails and facilities night after night, week after week, year after year, standing in alignment with us and refusing to let this atrocity of justice go unanswered, really make the difference for us, just spiritually, the prayers, psychologically, the support, and any financial help people give, everything that everyone does. The combined effort is just, it's very humbling, and I'm honored, and I'm thankful. And I speak for all the Gen 6ers when we say thank you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. We all do, and we can't think of anything, that is more important than what you guys are going through. If we don't fix this two-tiered system of justice and have confidence in our...
That's fact.
I mean, we're just in the way. They want to do to all conservatives, all Trump supporters, all constitutionalists, Americans, what they're doing to us. We're just the first wave of political prisoners. There is more and more coming. I hear more people being arrested for January 6th every day, and other, conservative matters, school board. They just arrested Miles Gao, who's a Chinese American who stands up against the CCP. He's in the prison I just came from. They moved me from federal prison in Brooklyn back to DC jail about a month ago. And Miles Gao, who he sings the song "Let's Take Down the CCP" at the end of Steve Bannon's War Room. That song. Okay. He's the Asian guy there.
All right.
And he, let's take down the CCP and spend the world into Hong Kong. We will fight to the wrong. Let's take down the CCP. He's awesome, but he's also a billionaire, tech billionaire. And the United States government, Joe Biden's communist regime, has now targeted him as well. He just was in the prison I just came from. They're claiming he defrauded his investors and all this nonsense just to, he's appeasing Xi Jinping with that move and just showing his fidelity doesn't lie with the patriots, with the American people, with the capitalists, but with tyrannical communists. So, this political prisoner thing is spreading. Just the enslavement of human bodies. We're enslaved here. I'm a prisoner of war. There's nowhere two ways around it. I'm a slave right now. I'm a ward of the state for standing up to defend my country and defend unarmed citizens on January 6th. And, if you don't want to end up like me, then you got to get organized, and we got to move as one body in Christ and continue to show forth justice, because they want us to just bend down and try to save ourselves. That's what they do in China, right? All the citizens, most of them, they don't peek up their head or say anything or cause any problems, because they don't want to get, the long arm of the communist regime to come down on them. So everybody just stays silent and complicit. And that's what they want for American citizens, that same docile servitude. And we refuse. We stand united.
Absolutely. We were just talking about the first vigil that we did out here. We had a banner that said, J6 detainees are America's political prisoners. And that's what you are. You're political prisoners. That's absolutely it. And they'll continue to try to do this unless we hold the line and push back. We cannot do that.
Amen. So, some of the ways that me and my camp, with J6Truth.org, the documentaries we produce, the political prisoner podcast that I put on, and everything that we do, the legal fund, the J6 commissary fund, everything's to try to spread awareness and just to combat this atrocity of justice and two-tiered, lack of justice. And so, part of the solution is, I think the first part is, getting educated on the truth about what happened on January 6th, so that, you truly have ammo to fight with against their lies. And so we created the documentary, The Truth About January 6th, on J6Truth.org, that reached, I believe, around like 2 million views right now on Rumble. We're the #1 viewed video ever on Rumble. And so if anybody there hasn't seen that documentary, I definitely, suggest you go and get educated, go watch that, because it's going to bring you a whole different perspective than the mainstream news media narrative, their lies, the January 6th Select Committee, complete Soviet show trial, garbage, fallacy, their lies too. We combat their lies with the real truth about January 6th, and that's an invaluable piece. So I think that's the first step in this fight, is spreading the awareness. And the next step is the legal battle in the legal courtroom. In these biased jury pools, it's very important that we set ourselves up historically and for the appeal process that most of us are going to have to go through and are going through right now, because we've lost our trials. That we need good, strong, patriotic attorneys that aren't afraid.
Hello?
That was sudden. That's not reception.
Hello?
Maybe they cut him off.
You still there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you back. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Like I was saying, the need for lawyers right now is crazy big. A lot of guys are suffering with public defenders who really do not have their best interests at heart. They don't really care about them. What happens to them? They're just trying to basically strike out another plea deal and get on with their lives and sell us down the river. So we started the J6 Legal Fund to help get lawyers for the other Gen 6ers who are willing to fight and go to trial. And really, really proud of my team and everything we've done with the J6 Legal Fund. We've helped out over a dozen Gen 6ers, and we've raised a good amount of money, but we could definitely continue to raise more. And that effort is an ongoing effort with, thousands more Gen 6ers that have their scopes on the DOJ to arrest. We're trying our hardest to provide attorneys for as many as we can. With about 200.
Sorry, go ahead.
I say with about $230,000 raised, we've been able to help out for a dozen Gen 6ers. But the ongoing donations and support we get really helps us help out a lot more people. So if anybody wants to check out the January 6th Legal Fund, just go to j6legal.org. That's on j6legal.org.
Thanks, we will. In fact, we're going to a Virginia Tea Party summit tomorrow in Richmond, and we've got a booth set up it's all about January 6th. We'll include that information as well. And I like your shout out about the video. That's another good one. to get people to, you know, especially, it's amazing to me when I go to those things how some people don't realize much about J6 at all. Some have no idea. So it's actually in a way that's encouraging that there's a lot more people that we can wake up, but and they're conservatives too. But anyway, thank you for what you're doing and helping all those guys too.
You know, it's these are my brothers. These are the guys that I view as heroes. There's so many fathers here that are just awesome dads and men of service to their country, veterans, firefighters, school bus drivers, teachers, electricians. I mean, this is like the heart and soul of America here. These people, I love them. And, you know, I just do what I can to support and help out this cause. I'm a Jan 6er. I'm proud of being a Jan 6er. I'm proud of what I did on January 6th to defend my country. And I'll never bend the knee to Joe Biden. I'll never take a plea deal. You know, for me, it's liberty or death.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go. You got to. You got to stand for what you stand for.
Amen. You know, this country was founded on men who have Jesus Christ living in their hearts that stood against tyranny or refused to back down or to fold or to surrender. And unless the same character and caliber men stand up and do the same, we will end up like China.
Right. So this is Maurice has a comment for you.
You just quoted a 24-year-old Patrick Henry from a few hundred years ago. Give me liberty or give me death. And reality is, those of us that have spent our lives living in this country, some aren't quite awake to what they've been enjoying all their lives. But if you take it away, I speak for myself here, I don't want to be here if I can't have my liberty. So yes, true, give me liberty or give me death.
Amen. How we doing? We had who was that?
That was Maurice. He's
wanted to say something.
Yeah, Maurice just said that.
Oh, hey Maurice, God bless you. Thank you for coming out, showing your support. That's awesome. Yeah, when I came to prison, I was 25 years old. Now I'm 28 years old. It's been a wild ride here. 20 months of solitary confinement throughout the last 30 almost.
You have 1 minute remaining.
But, you know, I just want to say that, you know, if you got a relationship with Christ, if you know your Father in heaven, if you understand that He made us to be free, then you continue to live with that hope in your heart that God's plan is for us to be free. And, you know, He is faithful to perform His works and His words that He said. And we will be free, truly free again one day. Whether this world or the hereafter, hold on tight to that hope. You can get hope and faith to get you through anything. And please continue all the work you guys are doing. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Jake, and keep the faith, brother.
Amen. Amen. If God is with us,
yep.
If God is with us, who could be against us, brother?
There you go. All right, awesome. You have a great night.
Good night. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
I think that was kind of I think he had actually called someone else who then forwarded the call. So that's how that happened.
You need a bug spray? I think I put
So,
it on for everybody. I think it's...
he does bring up an interesting point. I actually shared that same thought with my mother once, and she was a little bit disturbed because A, she's not awake, and B, she's not awake. And I told her, I said, Mom, if this stuff doesn't change around, I don't want to continue to hang around here, and I'm going to make sure that I make that point to everybody I can before I go. So it's kind of crazy, but these guys that are hanging on, they're keeping their spiritual anchor. They're doing everything they need to do. They're helping us out quite a bit. They have no idea. I can't imagine that political prisoners would have the reach that these guys have. And yet, by virtue of the organization that Tom set up a couple years ago, and as he just mentioned, and everything else, it's kind of amazing that they're truly heroes. They've managed to get the word out and educate enough people to create a critical mass that they've contributed to the movement of Make America Great Again, not just America, but the rest of the world. Now, I don't know if these J6 prisoners are aware of some of the other things that are happening in the world, but on the one hand, as was pointed out, it looks like there's going to be more January 6th prisoners. But on the other hand, what we have is an awful lot of good things happening. And if you think of it in biblical terms, a lot of folks are a little bit upset about how Donald Trump has been indicted. But the reality is this stuff has all actually happened before. I don't want to go into a whole lot of details because it might disturb some and might get other people a little bit overly excited. But I'm kind of seeing this scenario play out where, on the one hand, we're going to have a savior, but he at the end. And that's the way the Bible played out. So it's a fascinating time to be alive. It's an absolutely fascinating time to be alive. We pay attention to ancient history, biblical history, spiritual history, and these guys are, like I've said, they're the pointy tip of the spear. It's absolutely amazing what these guys have managed to achieve with just us little people on the outside. And my hat goes off to them. In my book, they're total heroes. Anyhow, I think I've spent my time on the microphone here.
Well,
just to add, Jake is now another one on our list that I did not realize he was here. He said he was here for a week, 2 times.
Yeah, that's the other part. No Man Left Behind. There's none of them are here now. I suspect that none of the ones that get arrested in the future will ever be here. I hope that's true, because this place is no place for anybody to be. But No Man Left Behind is a real deal. I'm military trained, and we don't do that. Man that's wounded and on the field, we stay and we hang around until we can get him back home free. That's just the way that works. There's no other alternative. There's no argument. So I'm in a position in my mind and in my heart, I can't stop supporting these guys even after sentencing. It can't happen. And we need to be dynamic in our approach, because as the situation evolves, he was just telling us about a legal fund. And what have we been discussing with money in our organization, where to put it? I think that's one idea that's really good with it. So we need to stay fluid, and we need to be able to weave and bob with the realities as they change. I don't mean to do a still for you.
I was just checking if things are working.
But this is an incredible time to be alive, and I'm sorry for those guys that are stuck behind bars, but they have to know that there's actually something good coming from it. There's an awful lot of people that are waking up, even though these guys didn't volunteer to step up and sit behind bars to wake people up. It's happening.
Well, I want to just talk about the Sentinel article that came out. And what do you think that's like to be the good captain who's featured on the front page, upstanding individual in the community? I got to go look at our Sentinel locations and make sure they're still in there, because I can only imagine people are trying to get those things out of circulation.
Well, I would imagine that the captain's probably feeling like he needs a sphincterotomy.
I was looking for the June Sentinel. Went to 3 post offices and they didn't have it. And I know our local Reedville post office never carries it. So we have to go to our Lillian Lumber store, and they have it all the time. So if they can't find it at the post office, Lillian Lumber in Burgess will have it.
So this brings up a thought that I had the other day, because Cheryl and I were talking about that very problem. That, the Sentinel would be at Food Lion, for example, and somebody complained that the Sentinel was at Food Lion and Food Lion had it removed. In retrospect, that's actually a violation of the First Amendment. We have the freedom of press, and that's the people's right to freedom of press, not the press's right. It's our right. And so if you're going to sit there and have a pile of newspapers from one publisher, a pile of newspapers from another publisher, and you don't like what this one says and you remove it, that's a violation of the First Amendment. Freedom of press is a thing, and you can't censor whether it's on the consumption side or the broadcast side.
That's a great point, and it's one area that when we first came together, we were focused on. We had a letter writing campaign to Food Lion Corporate. People went into the local offices or local stores, and basically were told it's coming down from corporate. It's not our decision. So guess what happened? We wrote some letters, and then we went off and did other things, and we went away. So you're right. There's still some legal action that we should take or consider
I
taking.
totally believe that, because we've lived in this country for so long, and we've all taken our rights for granted for our lifetimes. And so we don't really think about the ins and outs of what's involved with the Bill of Rights and the subsequent amendments that came after that, because we just live them every day. But when someone starts to take them away, you've got somebody out there trying to put a word out in a publication, and it can be the Sentinel, it can be anything. And somebody else is preventing you from seeing it. That's censorship. That's a loss of freedom of speech. That's a loss of freedom of press. When I say I want the freedom of press, I want all of the press, the full spectrum, accessible by me. I can choose and pick what I want to see. I don't need someone else picking and choosing what I see. And if there's an establishment that is going to allow a stack of newspapers from one publisher and not the other, that's a violation of my rights. And that's what I think we need to pursue, amongst other things. Just a thought.
A good one.
And I think, we need to find some attorneys maybe and consult with them. And it would have been a really good question to ask the guy that spoke to us the other night.
Jonathan Emord, you're speaking of, right? Candidate for Senate. He's getting a lot of traction, and I've been in correspondence since our meeting with his organization about getting back out here and other places. I'm trying to connect him with a larger Tea Party. Yeah, we just need. It's just like Kimberly. She drove here from Roanoke, basically.
Right.
5 hours to come up here to be with our group and be here at the vigil. So these guys get it. They understand what's happening in our country, and more power to them for standing up and attempting to take, public office and do something about it.
So, and that's another thing. So we've probably got more Republican would-be senators and other position candidates than we've ever had. But there can be only one replacement for Senator Kaine. Yes, that's right, Senator Kaine, you're done. But there can be only one, because that's just one chair. The rest of them, they've got fire in their bellies. They want to fight. They want to be out there. They want to be firing the cannons at the establishment.
This guy, John,
and we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to not forget the other fighters, the other leaders that didn't win the election, but they've got the fire. We've got to be able to keep them up front on the front line. I don't have a solution for that, because I just don't. But
well, I think it's new territory we're in, where you're getting more and more people to start locally at the school board level. I've been amazed just by the number of people that have, as a result of what we've been talking about tonight, saying enough is enough. People get outside of their comfort zone and they go do something that they never would have thought that they would ever have done before. and they're having an impact. They're making change.
I wear those clothes. I do. Just a couple years ago, I was getting frustrated with myself, not spending more time on the couch watching, doing anything about it, and I knew that I was capable of doing something, but I couldn't figure out what. Fortunately, I landed here, and by virtue of landing here, from the lily pad that is Northern Neck Patriots, I've launched in other directions as well, and it's been quite successful, and I wish other people would do the same.
Oh, I just wanted to add that I just told Maurice when that happened, I said, we don't know what our role is, but we will be shown the way, and we were, and it has been taken off, and we've been busy since.
Yeah, I was supposed to be retired. I've got a full-time job now. So there's a lot for anybody to do, and for those out there that are watching this, I hope you don't spend your entire day on social media and watching live streams, watching the country burn down. Just the best way to plan for something and worrying about it is to start. Just start anything. Just start. Start bumping elbows with people, talking to people, going to meetings. If you're like me, you prefer not to go to meetings, but do it anyway. It helps your psychological stability, interacting with other people, and B, you'll get to hear other ideas. And when you start hearing other ideas, you might actually find that the traction on your tennis shoes is a little bit deeper than you expected, and you'll be able to start running with something.
Yeah, that's a great point. It just takes. We were talking about this the other night, weren't we? About it seems like people are standing at the threshold, and the threshold looks to be 10 feet high. But if you just make that first step,
it's an optical illusion.
Yeah. So it's amazing what you can do once you do take that step.
And it's innocuous. A lot of people are embarrassed to just, like I'm doing right here, holding a microphone in front of my face. That's not easy at first. But I did spend 20 years having to give presentations for ideas, thoughts, and technology for the government. But trust me, I know it's not easy at first when you start doing that. And after a while, you start to realize that everybody else that you're talking to has the same problem, so it's okay. We're all in the same boat. We're all friends here. And it's true throughout the entire nation. I'm seeing things happen out in California that tell me that people are actually starting to stand up, and they suffer the same problem out there, just to stand up against stuff that you don't think is wrong. When you think that everybody around you thinks that it's right, you don't know that they also think that it's wrong. And that's one of the biggest problems that we're facing right now, is people aren't really seeing that the people in front of them in line at the grocery store have the same thoughts that they do, because nobody's advertising this stuff. Anyways, so I think we may or may not be getting another call. Anyhow,
What I wanted to say is that everybody, all my friends, well, they always thought that I had always political, always religious, but I told him, I said, I've never, when I met Maurice, I said, I don't do religion, I don't do politics, and I said, look at me now. And I lost basically my family and my friends, most of my friends, but some of them still talk to me. Some of my sons still talk to me too, but anyway, it's really difficult when they don't believe anything you say, and they say don't talk politics, but you got to do what you believe in, right?
Absolutely. And I remember I spent some time working for the DOD, and one day, having been exposed to some information that nobody should ever have to see, I came home and told you stuff is about to hit the fan. That was in 2015 or 16. And we've been watching it ever since. And it's it's been quite a wild ride. You can imagine there's been ups and downs. And I remember one night Cheryl was looking at something on her laptop. She turned her screen to me, and my heart sank through the floor. And it's like Cheryl and I were the only ones in the world that saw that, because we didn't know that other people were paying attention. We didn't know who they were, and that's a big thing. You know, we need to get back to understanding our neighbors. Did you know that your neighbors are not your enemies, even if they're of a different ideology than you? Did you know that? So there was a thought that I had earlier today, and on January 17th, 1961, Dwight David Eisenhower, the then exiting president, gave his farewell speech, and he identified that there was an evil cabal embedded within the United States government that was bent on destroying America. You can find that on YouTube or anywhere else. It's documented all over the place. But then a year and a half later, on June 10th of 1962, John F. Kennedy, the new president, was giving a commencement speech at the University of America, and he pointed out that he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind. He paid for that comment with his life. The cabal in America has been identified, but the sad part is that the people that want to associate themselves with what they call the left, and they're proud of it, they can't see that. And a lot of the people on the right, and I only say this because I don't see anybody talking about it, they know that there's an enemy, but they haven't truly identified exactly who that is. And this is the same organization that actually created the infrastructure and facilitated these events that occurred that caused our January 6th prisoners to be here. That's just a small scale example of how things have been playing out. But this is all true, it's documented, it's in history, and if you do the research, you can find it all in real documents.
I thought it was John F. Kennedy Jr. said that. I will take down the government and splinter it.
That was his daddy.
Okay.
Junior said, I will take down all of those who killed my father, is what he said. Even if I have to destroy the entire government. That's what Junior said. But Daddy said, I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds.
Okay. I'll get my quotes right.
But I think the key part in that I skipped over was that you have Dwight David Eisenhower, who was a Republican, and 18 months later you've got a Democratic president basically saying the same thing that cost him his life. So why are we split now? Back then we had two sides of the aisle saying the same thing, and that it was a problem. And today we have Americans turned against each other because of what other people say. It's just me. Anyhow, oh, I need to look at that. Anyways,
I think we missed a couple calls. There's multiples while we were talking. So I know we're probably done. But I know Andrew was going to maybe ring back, but
We still have 15 minutes.
yeah, we're getting close.
They close down shop at 9 o'clock.
oh, this is a thank you from this. I bet Lynn's watching.
Lynn?
Yeah, she just said thank you for your efforts in the vigil. That's what that was.
Are you guys interested in carpooling? Arthur Carver is wanting to see if anybody needed a ride tomorrow, but
Oh, tomorrow? I think we don't mind driving.
okay.
But I think afterwards we might want to get together afterward and have something to eat or something like that together. Might be a good idea. If somebody's gets hungry. That's what we were thinking. Ends at 3.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get a little sandwich or something for while we're there.
She's always got to send me work.
And you sending him work?
Love that woman. So that's the other thing is
Yeah.
so the guy that's this is relevant. The guy that's decided that he's going to go ahead and run, basically save my bacon. We have to continue to have a backup plan just in case that doesn't work out.
Right.
So I still have to fill out all the paperwork, get all the signatures.
We have a week.
You have to get
Signatures.
how many signatures?
They require 125 verifiable, which means we need to shoot for 106. I don't think that she can endorse it, so I have to count on getting the signatures.
How long do you have to get the signatures?
They have to be on the package when I turn it in, and if I turn it in on the 19th and the registrar doesn't have enough time to verify them, it doesn't matter. I can't do anything about it. I'm too late. So it's a tough haul. It's threading the needle.
Well, I can work one end of the county here.
Well, it's not. It's specific to the district.
Oh, that's right.
Means we could be busy next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be busy as hell.
All right.
Well, but you can have other people helping you to do it.
Yes, I will get that somehow. But unfortunately, when I look at the people that participate in group meetings focused on one group versus another, we got Democrats that meet and we got Republicans that meet, and in my district, Cheryl and I, along with one, sadly she's senile old lady.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us what's going on with this? Because why not? Because people probably can't hear unless you do this.
Okay. So in Northumberland County, we've got a member of the Board of Supervisors who's fallen ill, quite ill. I live in his district, and we've been trying to get a guy, not me, for a while to actually roger up and say he'll do it, and it's taken quite some time to get him to even go get the packet. My particular position is that we have to have somebody, and if I have to be the backstop, then that's what I'm going to do. But in order to do that, I have to be able to identify that he's not actually going to carry through with what he said he's going to do, and be able to pull the trigger with a complete package in place all at once by sometime next week. And that includes there has to be a bank account set up for a campaign. There has to be a minimum of 125 verifiable signatures, which means you want to overshoot that and get 160. There's a number of things, but the whole point is that this is just to be the backstop, just in case. But to not do it, all of a sudden you may find yourself in a position to need it, and if it's not there, then that we have a school board with a number of members, and in 2 districts, first of all, I'm being generous when I say that they can't put together a budget. There's, as I told the Board of Supervisors last week, when in a time when faith in all levels of government is fading, there's a credibility gap. And where there's a credibility gap, there is suspicion. And there is suspicion on how the books are being kept for the county school system. A lot of suspicion. There's money missing. Millions of dollars that's unaccounted for on the publicly available documents. So what we have is a group of individuals that are quite radical sitting on the school board, and now we have a couple of them because there's a leapfrog process where every year there's an election for both school board positions and Board of Supervisor positions, but it's not all of them. So one year it's this group of districts, the next year it's the other districts. And that happens in both of them. So this year we've got some school board members that have decided that they want to run for Board of Supervisors positions. And they're absolutely convinced that they're going to win because, as you might expect, people that are Republicans, they generally like to live life and be left alone, so they're not really prone to jumping up and getting on the plate and swinging a bat. So here we are, these same people that have failed to keep track of the books on a scale of millions and millions of dollars, which to some counties isn't a whole lot. I mean, Fairfax County's got a school board budget of $4 billion a year, which to me is insane, but I can't even comprehend that kind of money for a school board budget. But down here in our world, where they've jumped from $15,000 a student just a couple years ago, literally 2 years ago, and now they want to have $20,000 per student. The sad part is that in this particular case, 64% of that money comes from the local property taxes, and in order to pay that, they're going to have to increase the property taxes to by 23% over what it currently is. So we've got these people that want to run for Board of Supervisors position because the Board of Supervisors is a point of friction for them. And even there, it gets problematic. So we need good people to run for these positions because otherwise they're going to end up emptying Northumberland County because nobody can afford to pay the property taxes. So I didn't want to run, but I came on the stage, was hesitant, reluctant, whatever the case may be, but apparently he picked up his package yesterday. I picked mine up today. Some folks have asked me, well, if he's already going to do it, do you want to run for the school board position in that district? And the reality is, and I'll be honest with you, I was just talking a few minutes ago here that I was sitting on the couch watching the country burn, and then I through a longer story, I bumped into Tom and the Northern Neck Patriots, and suddenly things started exploding. So I'm not bored, and I think that I actually achieved more not being an elected official than I ever would if I was an elected official. And so when it comes to clipping wings of what I do day to day and throughout the week, the school board it fails the cost-benefit analysis. Being on the Board of Supervisors, that's an even trade. But the school board fails the cost-benefit analysis, and so I'm not interested in the school board. Not only that, but with everything I know about them, I would be a wrecking ball, and there would be dead bodies laying in the streets. It's not a good thing. So I would probably end up being run out of town on a rail because I'd be making enemies not just on the school board but with my neighbors. So I don't want to do that.
They'd be doing closed door sessions and berating you now, right? Where was that happened?
That would be Northumberland County School Board.
It was?
They do that, yes.
Yeah, I just was reading about it, and so they were They said it was a personnel matter.
Yes.
Which personnel is okay. You can talk about performance, this or that, the other thing, but it was just a gripe session and an intimidation session. Apparently,
It was. So, and that's the kind of thing that it is. And these people, from what I can tell, they're all self-serving. They're not really truly concerned, and I could go into details. I can back up everything I say, but I think we're probably getting close to time. And in my book, it's actually quite disgusting. I was actually kind of looking forward to having a debate with the person from the school board that wants to run for the Board of Supervisors in my district, because I'm fairly certain that hamburger never looked so good. Anyhow, it's kind of ugly, and I know that there's people all over this country that have seen similar things happening where school boards are exercising way more power than they think they should have.
Right.
So, anyhow, with that, I'm going to kind of close this discussion because I think it's almost time for the Star Spangled Banner.
Yes, it is.
2 minutes.
Moment of silence.
Did you see? When I watch the news, I watch Newsmax for what it's worth. I think they're kind of a sellout too because they've got the COVID commercials on there from the government, but and they always refer to Putin's war. But I do like some of the commentators on there, and it was one of them the other night. He was covering that there was a group of school children that had a permit to sing the national anthem in the Capitol building, and they were shut down by the Capitol Police.
That actually happened.
Yes.
What Trump is doing?
Well, so, and I can't remember the name of the Newsmax person but he said, "I'm going to bring them on, and they're going to sing the whole
Greg
thing."
Kelly.
Greg, nah, it was the other guy. But anyway, so they get on, and he tees it up, and they start, and they sing the first verse, which most everybody knows, but there are other verses. And so when he got done with the first verse, he started to clap, and they kept singing.
I love that.
he let it go, and then they finished up at it was pretty cool. I can't think of his name, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that actually happened, and a couple of days later, there was actually a member of the Capitol Police that actually got on microphone and camera and said, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, it's a little bit late for that, but truly I appreciate the effort. You know, it's time.
I'm gonna leave this on. All right. Uh-oh. Something's. It's just one of them.
All right.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. USA! 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 Good job, folks. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Done? Okay.